Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder 2 First Impressions on the Centurion Mark II, and it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Basically, this is the premium event vehicle from the ongoing Battle Pass, Her Majesty's Hussar. And yeah, battle rating 6.3, rank 4 premium British tank, and it can do that. And when the tank works, it's glorious. But there are an equal amount of situations where the tank is utterly frustrating. Look at this, aiming deliberately for the ammo, we hit it, we actually make it black, and then it just disappears instead of exploding. Disappointing. And then we are gifted with a kill assist. Very similar situation here. Yeah, it's two-stage ammunition, we hit the warhead. Yeah, they are mostly more inert, but not usually in War Thunder's term. Here I don't trust it, go for the disabling shot and immediately get killed by an aircraft. Also, I'm sorry a little bit because at some point the recording software decided to not record the sound for whatever reason. Now, again, what is this tank? Well, basically it's a Centurion Mark I with a different turret and a stabilizer for the 17-pounder. Or you can also see it as a Centurion Mark III with a 17-pounder instead of the 20-pounder. And there is a full battle rating difference between the Centurion Mark II and the Centurion Mark III, and that only goes to the gun. You could say, well, it's only 3 pounds difference, lol. But no, honestly, the performance difference is wild. The 17-pounder APDS is inaccurate, it's unreliable, and sometimes just doesn't work against ammunition. You also can repeat that and try it for yourself in the test drive when you shoot from the right-hand side onto the ammo box of the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6-2, you know, the battle flag. And then you can see that very often it doesn't blow up. And I think that Gulchin kind of forgot to buff the 17-pounder APDS. They buffed the 20-pounder and all other APDS in the game quite a bit, by the way. Thank you, Gulchin, for introducing bots here. That helped me because I thought there is a friendly player with me. But back to the 20-pounder. The 20-pounder, even before the big APDS buff, was hilariously awesome. Good post-penetration damage effect, highly efficient, going even through the frontal glacis of Tiger 2s with no problem. 17-pounder has even its fair share of problems versus the upper frontal glacis of Leopard 1s and Panther tanks, and I have then at the very end also some gameplay. When it actually penetrates, it has quite the reasonable spalling and very often deals a lot of damage. But again, it's no APHE shell and it's also no 20-pounder APDS. It is overall just unreliable, frustrating. You need multiple shots to take on an enemy and to kill them reliably, and that then pins you in position, makes you more predictable for the enemy, and very often they just need one shot. Now let's talk about the basics if you have no idea about the Centurion Mark I's, the 17-pounder or the Centurion Mark III's 20-pounder. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the armor. It's actually pretty good. The hull is frontally 76mm at various different angles. Lower glacis is weaker protected due to a not so steep angle. The upper frontal glacis gives you roughly 130mm of line of sight thickness and can very often bounce AP or APHE rounds. The sight with 50mm is not really that tanky. The turret from the front is very trolley, has up to 300mm of armor with overlapping ammo sheets, even more in places of the gun mantlet, and then around it's roughly 90mm protection, and from the top it's a bit weaker obviously versus aircraft attacks. The mobility, not the strength, horsepower to ton ratio is in the region of 13 horsepower per ton, but it's one of the first British tanks that actually has a decent reverse gear with minus 12 kilometers per hour, and forwards it's limited to 34 kilometers per hour, so it actually comes around. Now, the advantage that this tank has compared to the Centurion Mark III is that it has 12 degrees of gun depression, which in theory is awesome and makes it a dedicated sniper. Think about 17-pounder APDS with Jagdtiger penetration levels of 269mm and high muzzle velocity of over 1200 meters per second, and quick rate of fire, 5.9 seconds reload, up to 77 rounds of ammunition going hull down at distance. But there are two problems. First of all, the shell loses quite the penetration over distance and is highly inaccurate, and it's not that easy to aim. So how to position this tank perfectly is still a little bit of a mystery to me. But watch this. So we bounce the shell while we reversed in time. Then we aim. He detonates and fragment goes to space. I love this. I have no idea when that was introduced, but I love it. So yeah, the tank overall as a grinder, in my opinion, is not that good. The HE is not really that impressive. The other solid shots, yeah, no, not really. You have two sources of smoke, which is nice. You have a smoke round that I didn't use here, and you have also smoke grenades with basically two launches. So you fire 6 smoke grenades at a time. That really make you covered quite nicely. There is one thing that I think is a little bit counterintuitive, and that is the turret rotation speed with 20 degrees per second. Sometimes it feels really slow, even though it's kind of still standard-ish for this battle rating, and 4 degrees per second turret or gun elevation speed. So overall, nothing wrong with this tank except of the reliability of the APDS. In many cases, I missed a heavy machine gun, 50 cal or something, but that's also more or less typical for British tanks. So, yeah, this battle pass. For me personally, I'm not really a fan of the Swedish Mustang. It's alright, I guess. What I absolutely love is the S701, the German patrol boat with 8 G7A torpedoes, even though they're also a bit buggy right now and not the strongest torpedoes, plus the immunity of the Admiral Hipper class, 2 torpedoes in general, and then this. Is it worth the battle pass? For collectors, it's without question. You need to have the bolt. But for pure tankers, if you have a Centurion Mark III, you have a much better tank, even though it's more or less the same tank with just a slightly different gun. That makes all the difference. This 17-pounder APDS has trouble penetrating Panthers from the front, from the hull, It has problems penetrating Leopard 1s from the front on the hull. Not even to talk about Tiger 2s. It's inaccurate, and it just has some weird post-penetration damage effect. By the way, if somebody can answer me what happened here, I'm very thankful. I cannot hit this tank, yet his gun barrel was damaged, so it was not a bug for him not being there, but I clearly hit him, yet I didn't get a hit registration. His engine's running. I still see the commander. But, it doesn't matter, because here comes the balance department, and I have no further questions, Your Honor. So, yeah, this tank, when it works, it's glorious, and let's start with this, because it's so funny. Somebody pinged the map, I drop an RT strike on it for good measure. Again, excuse please the lack of sound. I see this guy go forward, greed takes over, and then, because also YouTubers are humans, I get the pixel pinpoint accurate shot in this time, and this time the ammo goes off. And what was about the RT strike? Yeah, we killed a Hellcat Lemao. After this happened, I knew, this is gonna be a good scene. So we hit here a Jumbo 76, and we kind of penned him on the turret front between the gun mantlet and the hull, and we cannot pen Jumbos from the front hull-wise, actually. But here, again, beautiful explosion with fragments going to space. And when you get shots like this on the T-20, and you one-shot kill them with the fragmentations killing the crew, it's beautiful, it works, it's fantastic. But that's not always the case. So I'm cherry-picking here the footage, and then again we pinpoint accurately hit the gun barrel, but sometimes we just don't hit where we aim. And when I mean sometimes, I mean like 2/3 of the shots have a noticeable deviation from the point of aim that actually matters. And this is just such a shame, because I would love to show you footage from long range maps where I hit, but there was one instance on one map where I killed the plane, where I fired 40 rounds of APDS. I hit 17 times the target, but only killed 2 tanks. Mostly because I just hit in places where, like the tracks, where I just didn't do damage, or hit the transmission from the front multiple times, or I just hit in places where I couldn't penetrate, period. And that was very, very noticeable. So this is something that just is in line with all the other 17-pounder carrying tanks experiences so far, and that throughout the years. I previously said I would love to see a tank with a 17-pounder and a stabilizer, and we have a good 2-plane stabilizer here, so to see if the 17-pounder actually could work, and it does, but just not good enough. It's not reliable enough, and so I think it's not OP at 6.3. I still think that the 20-pounder at 7.3 is very mighty and very reliable. But this, yeah, there are 3 consecutive scenes, Then we hit this guy from the side, no problem, blowing up the ammo. And then this guy, again, we don't penetrate. And then he gets us. So this was where I was a little bit unhappy about. So that's my experience with the Centurion Mark II. Unreliably reliable, or reliably unreliable, call it whatever you want. It's a beautiful tank. I love the skin. It's okay, I'd say, but it's not what I would love to play continuously for dozens or hundreds of matches. And that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts, and as usual, we'll see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.